TGI Friday. You're watching the John McEntyre Show live. I'm John McEntyre, and we are finally getting a break from this extreme heat. So I have to do my weather report of the day. Um, but yeah, uh, it's so funny. I heard someone that was talking about they would like for it to be in the 90s with a very high humidity, and I'm like, what planet are you from? But um, I said, well, yeah, you're one of those few and far between type people. But with that being said, today is Friday, July 26, 2024. Um, this is the last Friday of the month of July. So we only have a few more days left in July. And that's just to say things are moving right along at a steady pace here. So, you know the routine. We're going to do some wallet wins. I'm going to cover today is Book Club Friday. I with the questions and everything coming in, show suggestions coming in, I decided to move the book club Friday on the last Friday of each month. So it'll be just a monthly type thing, one book a month to actually read. Even though I have a library, I can do a Friday, I can do a daily book show for a few years. That's how many books I have in my library. Uh, that's why I want to showcase the most important ones. And so I have that coming up. But we're going to cover these wallet wins. And wallet win number one opened. I opened every bill that came in the mail. That is a wallet win. That's a serious emotional wallet win. And I know most people, are saying, I open all of my bills. Well, there's a group out there that just seeing bills causes anxiety. It actually stresses a person out. Who, sometimes it's we've talked about scripts, and they probably sometimes in those situations, what I've seen is a person maybe grew up in a financially stressed home, or went through a financial stress, and every time maybe they reacted to maybe a parent or someone, every time they opened the bill they would show anxiety. And kids really pick up on anxiety big time. They pick up on all emotions, whether you think they do or not, they do. Uh, so they probably read the looks on the faces, maybe the head in the hands, and maybe hearing conversations after a bill was opened and it wasn't positive, and they may have just grew up with that happening, not understanding where it come from. And it's more common than what people think. That's the good thing about financial therapy, that therapists now, they always have, but now it's like come to the forefront, especially with one of the best things that happened to the financial industry. The term financial wellness has come into the picture, and it's like now it's become like a buzzword. And so they cannot discount the mental and emotional aspect and spiritual aspect of personal finance. And so therapists have come into the picture to help with being able to identify these types of emotions and situations, listening to the words. And that's why I took it upon myself to get some training in it, and read it. I pretty much have read everything I can get my hands on about it. Um, the first level was behavioral finance, and now it's moved up, to another level. Now that it has been embraced, now you even have therapists that are specializing in it now, and they actually have training materials and everything. So opening your bills, every bill that came in the mail is a serious wallet win, um, and we celebrate that. Uh, Wallet win number two: just started a college savings plan for our 5-year-old son. Uh, you just don't know how big of a win that is. If you contribute to it regularly, that is a serious, is what, 15, almost 15 years of growth is going to happen. So we have some momentum that's going to get involved here. There's some other things that we talk with our clients, that we show our clients what to do to even accelerate the growth of a college savings plan. And that's something, like I say, I've talked about it before, but you really have to be in the context of a quiet setting to really talk about it with with clients. But it's actually that on top of the other secrets that we use, the kid's gonna have a good college future, a debt-free college future, and that's always a win. Wallet win number three: we didn't go on vacation this year. We stayed home, and surprisingly, the kids had fun with their friends, and we saved thousands. Yeah, that is it's funny. I mean, that is a serious wallet win, but the reason why I'm like laughing about it is because most of the time we do vacations for us, the grown-ups. The kids can really, they're gonna have fun, but they're really not that caught up in it. After wherever they're going, unless it's just somewhere that they're like super excited about, after a day, it's old to them. It's like social media to them. Okay, that was a funny post. That was a funny meme. That was a funny video. Next. Okay, I've talked to the kids, especially now that the older, like Bella's age, um, they don't remember, uh, Disney World, Disneyland, or whatever. The parents are talking about it like crazy, and the kids are like, I don't remember that. you know, I was asleep, or whatever. They don't remember it. It was good memories. They have the pictures and everything like that, but they still there's it's just not a memory to them. Most of the time, the one they remember the most is the summer they didn't have to go to camp, or they didn't have to go here. They got to spend the entire summer with their friends, and they did this, and they hung around the pool, and they did all this, that, and the other. That's what they talk about the most, in all seriousness. So that is a wallet win. This probably was a big time emotional win and everything. You didn't have the stress of packing and trying to get there and all of that, because um, mental health professionals, psychiatrists, psychologists, all of them, the counselors, they've always said, and I believe that it's usually the anticipation of going on the trip is what's the most fun. It's like the anticipation, maybe even the drive or the flight there, but then after that, it's like downhill. It's you've peaked. It's like you've had the peak of it, and now everything else is like downhill. It's actually just talking about it, anticipation. It's growing, and I get to go and all of this. And then when they come back, they're like, man, I need a vacation from the vacation I just took. I'm just glad to be back, because I'm like tired. You're not even rejuvenated from it. It's like all stressful, and you're all like exhausted now from taking a vacation. So yeah, that is funny. But I see some of the kids in the neighborhood. I bump into a couple of them. I've asked them. I'm like, so you guys are not going anywhere? No, we're not going. We're not going on any big trips. Where do you want to go? I'm fine here. And they're like, I'm with my friends. They're on their bikes and they're doing everything. So I'm like, hey, and they're happy. I'm happy, and we're richer for it. you know. So 3 good wallet wins we have. Now let's get into this book club Friday here. Um, this book is one, like I say, number one for me is always the Bible. That's always my number one book. I don't care in what area: leadership, relationship, finances, whatever, emotional health, mental health, whatever. It's my success book. Um, then I have my other ones that I've been sharing. Some of them, some books. I've read them, got a couple of good pointers out of them, and they're on the shelf. I share them with people. Make sure I get them back. I treat my library like a true library. If I let you borrow a book and you don't bring it back, I'll fine you. You have to break me off, and my fines are not. The libraries are nothing compared to what I charge. Uh, but uh, this book, every now and then I come across a book that becomes, it's more than a book. It's like the Bible. It's a reference guide for me. I refer back to it, early and often. Um, a lot of things that happens, I like go back to those particular books, and this is one of them. And this book is the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I know everyone's probably seen this book. If you worked I mean, you can't even say corporate. Pretty much any job I know is people at McDonald's said they've been through this program. Just working at the program. Been through the 7 Habits program. Is basically what I'm saying. Uh, I have some tools. I forgot I couldn't find. Well, I know where it is. I just didn't have time to get it. Um, it's actually a tool that I use, a little stick that has all of the habits on it. That when having conversations and meetings, you use it. Whoever has the stick gets to do the talking. You can't interrupt them. So there's a lot of tools. I mean, Stephen R. Covey, even though he passed away a few years ago, he was like one of the premier leadership uh, consultants out there. He probably one of the most influential people that really didn't get the credit. He did get his credit. I mean, all the big corporations, everyone knows him. Um, but as far as influence, like they give influence to celebrities, this is probably one of the most influential guys in the personal development, like to like influence people's lives that just didn't get the credit for it. You know, because his book, um, you could do a year's worth. I could do a year worth of 1 hour shows daily on this book, and still barely skim the surface of it. Each chapter is just that deep. It's like they say a good book um, reads you, and that's what this book does. It will read your mail. And make you really have to think. It's one of those books that if you read this book and did not and wasn't affected by it, you probably just can't read, or you might have a learning disability or something. I mean, there's something wrong here. But this book, I'm only going to touch a couple of the points that really stuck out for me, because when I was given the book, it was at that time I was like really, I was at that crossroad, and I needed some tools. I needed a roadmap. Um, and I needed some guidance, some mentors. And just so happened one of the mentors like, have you ever read this book? I'm like, no, I've never even heard of it. And here it comes. Here comes the book. It's given to me like the next day, brand new copy. As a matter of fact, it was this was David Allen. David Allen that turned me on to the book. Um, and I had to take that back. I had heard about it, I hadn't read it, and he was the one like, you need to read the book. You really need to read the book. David Allen is the one that gave me the idea for being on television with the personal finance show. It was called Wealth Television. He passed away unexpectedly. He was very young, but if he was still living, he would definitely be in the conversation with all of the big names in the personal success space. Easy. Had written 2 books, and I mean, I can't. I can talk about him. I can do it, and I am going to do a show about him. Because he was very instrumental in this book. But I was at a crossroad, got the book, and the first I remember I opened up the book. How sometimes you'll just get a book and you don't like start at the very first. I'm one of those type of people. I might just grab it just to see what it says right quick. And I opened up the book, and the first thing it said was, to bring about genuine and lasting change, you need to undergo a paradigm shift. That means changing your fundamental beliefs, assumptions, and values. So I'm like, okay, what's a paradigm? And I remember he and we were talking. I said, so, and he talked to me. He said, so have you read the book any? I was like, yeah. I said, I opened up the book and I explained to him what I did. And I was like, so what's a paradigm? He said, 2 nickels. I mean, 20 cents. He said 20 cents. And I was like, and then he just laughed. I mean, he had a serious laugh. I said, paradigms, man, please. And I started laughing. And he said, you can tell he always used that joke. And he was just laughing. He was like, you fell for it. You fell for it. But then he went to explain, we sat down and really, went through the book a little bit. He got me on the road, but he was talking about a paradigm is just your overall way of thinking. It's just everything put together. What you believe, what you have assumed about life, and what you value in life, that forms your paradigm. And so that's what this book like really, it really opened me up right out of the gate when I read that particular sentence. So the book has seven habits that that every effective person has, and number one was be proactive. I'm only going to cover the first two because those were very important to me, and he told and David really worked with me though. And proactive people, they take initiative. Um, Basically, they act instead of being acted on. They're proactive. They go out and they have the mindset, they don't let life happen to them, they go happen to life. And that's what being proactive is. It means you're taking responsibilities for your lives and decisions. So that's one of the first things, because of most people, every human being, if they can get away with it, they will put the blame somewhere else. It's just we're born to do that. You a little baby, where did you get the cookies? They fell in my hand. They did. Just think about it. That's just what we do. We try to not take personal responsibility is something that has to be learned and taught. And so, being proactive, taking personal responsibility for your problems instead of giving energy to circumstances and things beyond your control. So basically, it's saying focus on what you can control. When you're being proactive, you focus on what you can control, not on what you can't control. In the morning, you leave out, and I'm in an area, Highway 85 is not far from me. You have to, if you want to get somewhere quickly, you pretty much have to use it. Highway 85 is one of it's like in the top five of like worst highways in America. It gets congested. We're in Charlotte. Charlotte is it's growing by leaps and bounds, and it's just a highway that people just travel on. You 4 hours, you drive 4 hours south on 85, you in Atlanta. So it's like a very congested highway, and like I say, rush hour is from 7 to noon. Morning rush hour is from 7 to noon. Evening rush hour is from noon to 5. So that's basically how packed this place is. So I say that to say, we cannot control that traffic. We can only control ourselves in the traffic. We know what's going to be going down when you get on that highway. And so we cannot control those types of things. And we have to choose. A proactive person chooses how they're going to respond in every situation. They're just not going to let it, get to them. They know what's going on. Um, I learned that being proactive means taking a personal commitment. It means you're committed. You don't allow anything to take you away from what you're going after or what you're going to do that day. Proactive means you've thought about what you're going to do, because you've seen the opposite of proactive is the reactive people. They get out of bed and whatever grabs them, whatever they see first is what gets their attention and gets their focus. If it's unfolded clothes or something out of place, instead of setting up their day for success, they just react and they grab whatever they see first. And then the rest of their day is set up to where they have to keep reacting unless they do a reset. And most don't do reset, and you hear it. Well, the reason why I was late is because I had to do the laundry. So you're doing the laundry on a business day. It wasn't it couldn't have been done with it. Well, and I had to do this, and you had to, or is that what you just chose to do because it was the first thing you saw? And personal responsibility and being proactive is totally opposite. That can wait. This can wait. That's not important. I'll do that after I get my morning set up. I can push that. And everything has a place. That's what a proactive person do. Reactive person goes the opposite direction. And so that was the with the first one, with proactivity. The second one, as I was working with David, he was helping me out. He was like, you've heard it like touched on, like having goals, things like that. He said, but this is much deeper. This is much, you know, uh, much well, just deeper. It is begin with the end in mind, which is have a vision. I mentioned earlier about the sentence, the first sentence that I read is talking about the values and your beliefs and assumptions. Well, beginning with the end in mind means you get all of that lined up. You've taken all of that lined up, and then you set your vision for how you want things to turn out, with that included. You know, so it's as simple as this. I'm in Charlotte. I want to go to Asheville. I know what I need to do to get to Asheville. That means I have to line my actions up going to Asheville. So that means, for me, I'm going to take Highway 85 south till I get to 74 Extension. If I'm going 85 north, no one's going to believe that I'm going to Asheville. The question is going to be, well, why are you going in this direction? Or even worse, where are you going? I'm just driving. Okay, well, if you don't aim at anything in particular, that's what you're going to get. Nothing in particular. Because you don't have you haven't you started without an end. It's those types that they throw stuff up on the wall to see what sticks, and they've lived their life. And when you begin to ask them questions, how did you get here? How did you get there? Then you just realize they didn't really choose to be there, and they really don't want to be there. It's just that's what happened by default. They lived the life by default, and that's what, if you don't have a vision, you're living life by default. You're just taking, and I know it sounds wise. Some people use, especially with the older people. But as I lived and went through some successes and some failures, I realized that was almost like a cop-out statement. Oh, you have to take life. I just take life one day at a time. Whatever happens, it happens, and all that. Okay, well, that's living a life by default and resignation. You've decided that you're just going to allow life to happen to you, and then you work with it. Whereas a person with a vision, and they begin with the end in mind, whatever comes at them, they figure out a way to get around it, get over it, or whatever has to be done if it's interfering with their vision. And that's what, you're being proactive. Now you're beginning with the end in mind, and so you have to keep those types of things in mind as you're moving forward in life. And one of the best things that I learned, I remember Andre and I, we went through the same thing, because he was mentoring both of us. David Allen was. He was like, do you guys have a personal mission statement? And I was like, what is a personal mission statement? He said that's what guides every decision that you make. Every action that you take should come from your personal mission. He said, what the mission of your business is, right? He said, your business should fit inside of your personal mission statement. It shouldn't be doing something totally opposite of what you're trying to do in life. Everything should be going in the same direction. Is it because if it doesn't, when you have a business mission that's going in this direction, and you don't have a personal mission statement, and you're just living by default, that's where illnesses, that's where divorces, that's where bad relationships happen. That's where bankruptcies and foreclosures and all kind of catastrophes happen, because you're not congruent. You're not moving in the everything is not moving in the same direction. And maybe you might be tied to some people that they're going west and you're wanting to go east, and now you're in a tug of war, with people, and it's not their fault. It's just as much your fault as it is theirs. They're probably living by default. You're living by default. Both of you, neither one of you know what you want, and you're just heading in opposite directions, trying to make this person do what you want. They're trying to make you do what they want. And that's what this book taught me. And that's just the first two habits. That was just the first two habits. And so you see how you can even put this in your financial life. This applies in every area. If you're proactive with your money, just think how much more you could do. What you can do when you set a vision for your life and your family and everything, and start using your money to actually finance that vision and mission. That's when you start being intentional and embrace planning, and not do things haphazardly, Everything has a purpose in what you're doing with your finances, with your health, with everything. You're moving everything in one direction. And that's just what maybe these pages right here is done. That's all I've touched in this book. So as you can tell, as much I've done all of this talking and barely could still be in the forward of this book. That's just how good this book is, and it's one of my reference guides. It's not just a book to me; it's like a reference guide. Um, People, that is one of my top 5 that I recommend. If it's not on your shelf, then you need to put it on your shelf, because everything that you're going to read, any author that came after him has been influenced by him. I mean, that's all I can say. He was influenced by the Bible, some of the great ones before him, and pretty much everyone after him. If you're listening to a podcast, you're watching a video, and they're talking about personal success, personal effectiveness, being a good leader, being a good manager, being a good husband, being a good wife, being a good child. You're basically reading some of his influence, and that's just the bottom line to it. So pick up the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. I know I went over my time, but some things need more time. They deserve more time. Deserve more time than I'm giving it. So there you go. Pick up 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Put it in. It's a good read. He's even made one for teens, made one for children, made one for specific type of professionals. Everything. I mean, it's something. If you're building a business, get you a group of people together. They don't even have to be in the same profession. Even diverse groups of people get together and do a study with this book and see how much more effective you become. All right. So before I leave, here's the question of the day, and it has something to do with that. But basically, I heard someone talking about it. I heard two women talking about their money, and she was like, "I don't care how much money. I don't care. I'm just not going to save money. I'm not going to give this up. I'm not going to sell what they were talking about." And I was like, wow, that would be a good question of the day. What's something you can give up even if it means saving money? Even if it means saving more money, you still will not give it up. We call it the non-negotiable. What's a non-negotiable? But what is something you can't give up even if it means saving more money? All right. Well, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the show. Like it if you like it. Shared it if it was of value. Subscribe. And one other thing, have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.